Good evening. Welcome to the City of Kankakee's Black History Scholarship Program. It's wonderful to see so many students and their families here. Of all of the events that I preside over every year as mayor, this is really the most important and the one that's closest to my heart. For 16 years, I worked for the school district as Director of Public Relations and the Magnet programs. But more importantly, I graduated from Kankakee High School. My mother graduated from Kankakee High School. My daughter graduated from Kankakee High School. So we are lifelong Kankakee residents and products of District 111, and I'm very, very proud of that. For many years, the City of Kankakee hosted a Black History program. And that program usually featured excellent entertainment and food, and the opportunity for the community to get together and reflect on the importance of Black history. When I became mayor, I thought it was important to change the focus, not away from Black history, but to education, and to provide speakers and programs that would inspire our youth and show the importance of accomplishments African Americans have contributed to our society. For the past 6 years, we have had a variety of speakers that have inspired and informed us of the many contributions by African Americans, from the Tuskegee Airmen to the Chairman of Development of McDonald's Corporation, to a Hall of Fame athlete and now coach who uses his skills to help students reach their goals. As a community, we have a responsibility to encourage and support our children in order for them to achieve their future goals, and to do so through education. Ultimately, we want them to be contributing members to society and leaders in their future communities. In order to fund these scholarships that are being awarded tonight, each year I send a letter to a number of businesses and individuals asking them to support this program. It's the only time each year that I ever send a letter requesting money. This year, we are able to award 30 scholarships, our highest number ever, and we've received in donations more than $13,000 to do so. This is all because of the generosity of the people and businesses that are listed in your program, and while you were being seated, their names were on the PowerPoint presentation. No tax dollars go into this program to support these scholarships. And I really want to just take a moment again to acknowledge and thank the people who have generously given to this scholarship program, because it's not for me, it's not for a Democrat or a Republican or for race or for gender. It's for the kids, and they deserve our support. Tonight we are fortunate to have Dr. Preston Williams Jr. return to his hometown and provide what I know will be an inspiring program for the children and their parents. I'd like to ask Dr. Janera Walters, who's the superintendent of District 111, to come forward, and she is going to introduce Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor Epstein. Good evening. I have the honor and privilege of introducing a young man that I heard a great deal about over the years. I had the pleasure of actually meeting him and spending some time with him last school year, and he is a phenomenal educator. Just to tell you a little bit about him, the first thing that I am proud of is that he is a graduate of Kankakee School District 111, Eastridge High School. He went on to Indiana State University and graduated from Indiana State University, and he spent 34 years in education. His last years as the Urbana superintendent, again, retiring with 34 years of education. I always like to ask our presenters what are they passionate about when they think about education, and he looked at me and he clearly and confidently stated students and their potential. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Preston Williams, a product of Kankakee School District 111.
Good evening. You guys hear me in the back? I made the mistake once of saying that, and the person said, "We can't hear you." And everybody got up and moved to the back. So I'm always careful when I say that now. First of all, thank you, Superintendent Walters, for that great introduction and what you do as a superintendent. Having had the pleasure of being an administrator, both as a assistant principal, director, assistant superintendent, associate superintendent, deputy superintendent, and then superintendent, I can tell that you work hard, and typically it's very unsung. You don't hear a whole lot. You get a lot of the complaints, okay, but at least tonight you can look around the room and see these young people and be very proud of what you've been able to do and accomplish. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the mayor, Mayor Epstein. Please give her a hand. The Kankakee chapter of the NAACP. I don't know, Coach Pace, are you still heading that up? Okay, let's give them a hand, please. And most of all, the student scholarship awardees. Why don't you raise your hand? Well, stand up so we can acknowledge you, please. Students, come on, you're all right. I won't embarrass you too much. Okay, now you can have a seat. That's perfect. You look so nice, too. Superintendent, no, I've been over in the schools a few times, so last year, so I've seen some of them. But I will be quiet tonight. I won't say anything about that. But you guys look very nice, and we're very proud of you. Well, for me, first of all, I have to say I am a Raider. All right. Are there Raiders in the house? All right. Okay. Thank you. No, we're not talking about those Kitty Hawks tonight. We're going to leave them alone. Now, for you students, that's something that in this town at one time, you were either a Raider or you were a K-Hawk. As you notice, the K-Hawks are always last. I want to acknowledge the parents and the positive adults in the lives of these students. Let's please give them a hand. It's not always mama and daddy, sometimes there's other folks as well. I told my wife, I was sitting home and I'm saying, okay, now, what would they like to hear? I said, I'm not going to sit here and start with Black history, even though my mom taught us a long time ago when I was a little kid, the importance of knowing who you are, where you're from. She bought, how many of you remember those Negro history books, those big, thick books? Mom bought us that, and I would spend hours going through looking at all of these different people. And that really started me along what I consider my profession as a historian, because it was so important, and it made me feel good about it. I've got here tonight one of my teachers, Miss White, who I still love to death. It's right there. Even though I always tell her, Miss White, I remember when Eddie Grant and I got into it over at Franklin, and you made me take these encyclopedias and stand out. We wanted to go to recess, and it was like, well, if you let them down, there's a SWAT waiting for you. Well, see, you guys don't know anything about that, but they did have SWATs at that time. I am a witness to it, all right, because I had a couple of them, believe me. But I love her to death. She came down when we had when they honored me with naming the elementary school after me. And here is my elementary teacher right there. Oh, man, I had to have a lot of Kleenex that day. I've got coaches, John Westerhoff, the young man right there in the orange with his granddaughter. I mean, John, raise your hand, John. Come on. All right. Well, most of you probably don't know John, but for me, John, he probably took me from the time I was about 13 years old all the way until I was in my 20s, and we traveled all over the state of Illinois and Missouri playing baseball with that guy next to him, Jeff Bennett. And the thing that I always remember about that is that growing up, and Minister Gathering understands this, I wasn't on the wrong side of the tracks. I was between the tracks. Okay, that's where I grew up. 806 North Evergreen, 770 North Wildwood. Spent a whole lot of time in Pioneer Park. Had the custodians run us off the playground at Franklin. I think it's Pregler now. Because I remember him coming out and saying, "What are y'all doing out here? I just keep hearing this doom, doom, doom." Well, we were playing strikeout. We played strikeout from the time on the weekend, from the time we got, well, mostly, I'm sorry. Strikeout is when you get a rubber ball. Typically, we had to go and clean bottles, pop bottles, and take them down to Jaffe Drugs. See, I'm telling my age now. We went down, well, Lickways, but, Lickways was a little, it was back this way. That was your area. And we would go over there, turn in the bottles, and get rubber balls. And we would go to Pioneer Park when the Lancers were playing out there. And I did play for the Lancers eventually. But they get a cracked bat. See, I know you guys don't know anything about this, but we get a cracked bat, we nail that bat together and put some tape around it, and then we go play strikeout. And that custodian came out there and said, "If you don't get off this playground," I'm like, oh my goodness. And everybody knew everybody, so he would tell my mom or my dad what we were doing. Got my nephew here, Mr. Gregory Murphy, great young man, played at Kankakee High School. And I see a lot of kinfolk. Well, again, you don't really know what that is. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. They weren't aunties. They weren't uncles. They might have been fourth or fifth cousins. So we call them cousin or kinfolk, right? Education, when you think about it, yeah, I have degrees. I have a bachelor's. I have a master's. I have a doctorate. But I had the best education of my life sitting over on Cousin Nate and Cousin Laura's porch right over there on Evergreen and Willow. All right? Because they would tell me all about everybody that walked down the street. Yeah, that boy used to be something else. Look at him now. Look at him. Hey, now all he wanted to do is find some wine. Well, look at that boy there. Now, he had a job last week, but now look at him. He don't want to work. He don't even half the time want to get up. Folks, man, that was my education. You couldn't buy that at any. I have degrees from the University of Illinois, Indiana State University, National College of Education. I've talked with individuals like Julian Bond. I've spoken with the co-founder of the Black Panther movement. I've spoken to senators. I've spoken to royalty. I've spoken to billionaires. But I learned more on that porch on how to deal with people than any of those folks. And see, we're missing that. We're missing that. See, because for me, I had grandparents, I had great-grandparents. The greatest guy that I ever knew, other than my father, was my great-grandfather, Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson had this red truck, and he would haul. And I didn't say, what is this old man talking about hauling? He would haul stuff, but that wasn't who he was. Peter Jackson worked at the Kankakee foundry for over 30 years, owned his own home, built his own home, built an apartment building. Him and my great-grandmother helped all of us. But Peter Jackson would ride around in this truck. You talking about black history? He would ride around in this truck and just stop. And that was amazing. That was amazing to me because I was like 9 years old. And all I wanted to do was go with my great-grandfather. Grandpa, can I go with you? Or get in the truck. I start out at 8 o'clock in the morning. We go all the way over by, Schuyler. We end up out in Honorado Terrace and every point in between. And everywhere he went, he stopped and talked. And everybody knew Peter Jackson because he would talk and he would talk. Now, why do I tell you that? See, because as a superintendent and as an educator and as a professional baseball player that had the opportunity to play in the pros and get paid to do it, I learned more watching how he dealt with people than any book I've ever read. Any book that I ever read. Because he knew how to talk to people. Did not have an education. Never had a formal education. But he had an education in life and he knew how to deal with people. I have the pleasure of having my wife here, Ivy Williams, of 32 years, soon to be 33. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Thank you very much. My father, the late Preston L. Williams Sr. First thing I came in, somebody asked me, boy, you sing like your daddy? No, ma'am. Because if you ever heard my father sing quartet, you talking about somebody that could tear up the church? I remember one time I was with him, and he had the microphone stand and the cord, and he would kick the microphone stand and then pull it back with the cord and then go down. I'm like, who does that? That was my dad. Great person. Taught me so many lessons in life. Wherever I went, I know he was going to be there. And then my mother, Mary. Minister Gathering remembers this. Anytime I would be playing, usually with his brother Cornell, Mom worked, got it up in the morning at 6 o'clock, went to the Kankakee State Hospital. I think it's the Shapiro Developmental Center. I'm not sure what it is now. But she'd get off about 3 o'clock. Now, we had to hump to go to the Little League Park. JC. Wasn't no being late. Got out of school, went home, did what you needed to do, and walked down to the park. Now, when the games came, Mom would sit in the car. She wasn't getting out the car. She was not going to get out the car. She would sit over in that car and read a book. Now, every now and then the announcer said, now batting Preston Williams. And she'd look up and she'd hit the horn. Toot-toot. That was it. Just to let me know that she was there. She would do that from Little League all the way up through. I think she might even did it when I was at Indiana State. But my mom, oh, wow, cupcakes in kindergarten. Well, you know, as a kindergartner, cupcakes, ooh. Birthdays. Oh, I was just like, hey, we were just hoping, whose birthday's coming up? Somebody's birthday. And my mom would work all night, make those cupcakes, go to work, find some kind of way to get off at lunchtime to bring us cupcakes. And she made the best cupcakes and makes a mean pecan pie as well. But I love her for it. My mom and dad worked multiple jobs for my sister, Christy, and my baby sister, Mary. When we were all in college at the same time, we were stair steps. You know what that is, right? Stair steps. I was born in 57. Sister was born in 56. Baby sister was born in 55. We were all in college at the same time. And Mom figured out, she had to figure out some kind of way, her and Dad, because Dad was a great person, but Dad didn't like to work a whole lot. He worked at Google, but when he got off, he figured, I'm off. I done worked all day, I'm off. I'm going down to the Little League Park. I'm going down to watch the football. I'm going to do something. But Mom said, look, Preston, we got 3 kids in college. You're going to have to get a second job with me. And that's what they did. They worked at least a couple jobs. Worked the day job, then the night job. When we came home for the holidays, we ended up working too. I remember that was the FS office or something. I'll never forget. Had to do all the cleaning. Fantastic. And I tell you, them $25 checks in the mail about every 3 weeks or so came in handy. I mean, real handy. Because otherwise, we'd have been in trouble. Someone told me, they said, hey, Dr. Williams, how are you going to inspire these guys? I said, inspiration? I said, you know what? Growing up, my inspiration came from right in that house. Mom, Dad, Grandpa, Grandma, great-grandpa, great-grandmother, Josephine Jackson, Mary Lofton. That's where my inspiration came from. See, because for them, I remember my dad, as he was getting older, and I would take him to the South. And he would tell me the stories of how he left Mississippi. How at the age of 14, he found a way and hitchhiked to a town called Columbus, Mississippi. Took a bus to Flint, Michigan. 14. Only had a pair of overalls, no coat, in November. And started working in a factory and was afraid that they were going to send him back. At 14. He was running from the truant officer. That's how he left Michigan and came to Kankakee. At 14. So inspiration, that's my inspiration. Young people. The one thing I'll say, first of all, sometimes it's best to, instead of asking for permission, you ask for forgiveness. So I am going to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, because I'm just going to take a couple more minutes to talk to these young folks and then the community. Accept the things you cannot change. I know right now you say, this old man, what in the world is this old man going to tell me about anything? I got a scholarship. I'm going to college. I'm feeling good. What is he going to tell me? Well, people, I'm going to tell you, even though I've been around a little bit, I ain't been out of the game that long. Everyone gets knocked down. You must be willing to get up and keep trying. Understand when to accept, adapt, and to move on. And there's one thing you definitely got to understand. You got to understand when you're dealing with cave people. Yeah, I said cave people. You say, oh my goodness, what is this guy talking about? Cave people? We're not Neanderthals? What is he? Cave people. Citizens against virtually everything. You're going to have to deal with cave people. It's going to happen. So be strong. Believe in yourself. Have a vision. Have a passion about something. Be a leader. But understand, just because you out front doesn't mean you're leading. Sometimes all you are is a scout. And you know what happens to scouts. Be persistent. Understand you got to keep trying. Have the integrity to do the right thing. I walk in some of the hallways, not Kankakee High School superintendent, definitely not Kankakee High School. No, Champaign Central High School. And I'm just appalled. I hear some of the language, and I have to stop because I'm old school. I'm sorry. I get in more trouble. I have to stop. Wait, no, you ain't talking like that. Who is this? No, we ain't having that. I know your mama, and I know your daddy. So I'll be over there tonight to tell them what you just said in this hallway. And you tell them Dr. Williams, Coach Williams is coming over, and they know who I am. You've got to go for knowledge. You have to have the knowledge. Do the research. Don't take the pre-K through 12 definition for everything. You look at somebody like Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They tell you, oh, he was the president, he wants to. Take the time to research, gain the knowledge for yourself. Just doesn't believe what somebody tells you. What you do or don't do says a lot. Think about that one. What you do or don't do says a lot. For the community people and educators, never compromise your core beliefs or your mission when making critical decisions. Let others know your beliefs. Match your actions to your beliefs. Your actions are speaking louder than your words. Sometimes your actions speak so much louder than your words. You can say all kind of things, blah, 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 and I'm watching what you're doing, and it's not matching up. Keep your enemies close and your friends closer. I had a friend that always called them frenemies. Frenemies. Understand what that means. Everybody that's good to you ain't good for you. That's a free one. That was from my grandfather, Henry Lofton. As educators and community people, you got to change the frame of reference. You've got to stop talking about how bad things are, how negative the kids are, how this is, and oh, that coach, oh, the teacher, oh, the principal, man, that superintendent. What you gonna do? What are you doing? Well, you know, they won't let me, okay. Enough said. You gotta understand. Sometimes you gotta change that frame of reference. Look at what the kids are doing. Look at these kids. They're doing great things. And what they're going to do in the future, you have no idea. Opportunities, high expectations, support, and celebrate their accomplishments. You know, Superintendent, I read the paper every now and then, and I love to see the kids when they've won an award or they've done something great. I'm not just talking about sports. I'm talking about musicals, academics, science. Celebrate. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Celebrate. Tell people all the time, if you don't aim for nothing, you'll get there every time. Think about that one. You know, the old Baptist preachers used to say, if you can't say amen, just say ouch. We have to unleash the greatness in these kids. I had a coming up that was very important to me. There are two stories, and I'm going to get out your way and make sure we hand these awards out and tie my shoestring up. You know, I went to East Ridge High School, home of the Raiders. I had a counselor. I'm not even going to say who it is. I had a counselor told me, I'll never forget. He says, I was student council president, first African-American student council president. I was on the National Honor Society. I was accepted to Yale. I was accepted to the University of Illinois. I played baseball. Man, I thought, hey, I'm good. Counselor brought me in and said, you know what, Preston? I think, your mom, she works at the Kankakee State Hospital. Your dad works out at Gould National Batteries. I don't think either one of them have a high school diploma. Maybe perhaps you need to think about being a maintenance engineer. It kind of threw me for a minute, Julie. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what in the... Again, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against being a maintenance engineer. I worked as a maintenance engineer many places. But my vision and my goal was not to be a maintenance engineer. Okay? But that's what he said. You can be a man. I came home, I told Mom, I said, Mom, they want me to be a maintenance engineer. She said, you know what? If I got to eat bread and water and then water and bread, you going somewhere. Okay? And the other part I had is I had a 5th grade teacher. Mom, you might have to help me eventually, but I think it was Mr. Lanker. I might be totally wrong, but I remember he came out of Olivet. He was an older guy. And I'd never forget him telling Mom, I don't know what it was about. 5th grade, little shorty. Couldn't even hardly comb my hair. And he told her, we were sitting in a meeting, and he says, Miss Williams, your son has college potential. 5th grade, college potential. I didn't even know what college was. What is college? Potential. And that stuck with me. And I never had an opportunity to tell him thank you. See, because it only takes one that believes in you. It only takes one that can change and make what I call a new normal. It only takes one to change your destiny. It only takes one, along with the belief in the Almighty, which was put in me at an early age, that you're blessed to have success. It only takes one to believe in you. And you take that one, that core belief, and you massage it, and you work with it, and no matter what anybody else tells you what you can't do, you do. Kankakee, you got to believe. You've got to believe. You got to believe again. You got to believe in these young people, because you know what? I don't know what they're going to do with their life. But I do know one thing. They have a strong foundation. The world is open to you. All you got to do is go out and get it. Thank you very much.